We're on day 106 of Ukraine's resistance. This is the Mediacentru Ukraine. We're starting our day with a conversation about what helps win the war, money, specifically the work of the banking system. With us today is Olena Korobkova, chair of the board at the Independent Association of the Banks of Ukraine. Pani Olena, hello. Hello? Pani Olena, the question is, on the one hand, quite simple, on the other hand, quite complex. What is the condition of the banking sphere in Ukraine? The banking system is working, which is good news, because if we look at the history of previous wars, the banking system would work for 2 days and then take a break. We are, again, to remind you, the war started on February 24th at 4 a.m. First explosions, and by 9 a.m. the National Bank had a plan and new resolution of how to maintain the banking system. This was very impressive, and I would like to confirm this also in spoken words. All of the banks are sufficiently capitalized. We have taken 2 Russian branches off the market, and 1 Russian mega bank that had a chunk, but there was problems with it prior to the war. All the other banks are working. We have no problems. I would like to also stress that all of the deposits today are protected, defended by the state, and the state guarantees 100% of the deposits. This is a very correct step, I think, and as a corresponding law was passed, the banking system is trustworthy, and which people seem to understand. As of June 1st, actually the deposits on hryvnia accounts have increased by 20% compared to the 24th of February. The banks continue to refill the ATMs and tellers, and withdrawals are possible. You can pay at different stores. The lines at the ATMs lasted for 1 day, after which the entire world asked, especially international partners, so what did you do? Why do you not have lines? Because they had lines, for instance, in Poland, where our refugees moved, but in Ukraine we didn't have lines. I also would like to stress that in May, the influx of cash was only about 0.5 billion hryvnia. As far as numbers today, cash numbers today, in the 5 months of this year, cash flow has increased by 8.6%, and we had 681 billion hryvnia in circulation. This is by about 50 billion more than at the start of the year, although previously we had a clear trend of cash decreasing. We didn't stop the press, we didn't start the press, we didn't print any hryvnia. The electronic system of payment works, but it doesn't mean that, however, this doesn't mean that we don't have any problems, because of course we are working with our clients. Banks are connected to their clients, and the problems of the clients are also the problems of the economy and the banks. The economy is going through a shock contraction. However, the banking system seems well prepared, and this is thanks to the structural and systemic reforms of the pre-war period. And paradoxical as it may sound, it is also thanks to COVID, because during COVID, the banks really digitalized and did a lot of homework, which now allow many people to forego going to bank branches to open a card and open an account. Almost all of this can be done on your phone or on your computer at home without risking your life. The raising of the bank rate, we understand why this was done, but how will this affect the work of the banking system? Yes, the National Bank did raise the bank rate from 10 to 25. There's been a very fiery discussion around this piece of news, but I would say this is a considered step because inflation right now is 17%. The hidden percent is the hidden inflation is maybe another 10%. This level of inflation has to be tamed somehow and has somehow counteracted. The raising of the rate will of course help counteract that inflation. Another aspect that has to do with this, with the raising of the bank rate, is that it should defend the hryvnia, protect the hryvnia deposits from devaluation. Because prior to this decision, we were observing this picture where the ordinary citizen would take their hryvnias in order to convert them into currency, international currency, to somehow protect their deposits and their savings. And this of course will lead to the fact that the deposit rates would raise and the inflation would be covered. So you can sleep easy. You can rest it. We also expect raising the rates of VDP because these are being attracted. Um, the, because the rates haven't been raised in a few years and they need to be changed as well. Of course, this will also should have the positive impact on currency rates, because we've seen we had 4 rates. This was extremely bad, and now we see how the rates, the gray market and the legal market, are approaching each other. So we're looking for the stabilization of we're looking forward to the stabilization of the rate. In which case, what is the dynamics of a deposit portfolio? Are people bringing money into the banks? Are people withdrawing money? Is the number of deposits staying the same? Could you tell us more? People seem to be bringing deposits into the banks. The deposit base has increased 20% since the start of the war. So the banking system seems to enjoy trust. The deposit rates will, of course, rise a little bit. We also expect that people will continue to bring their money into the bank. You understand that apart from, yes, of course, there's looting and things like that. So right now it's better. It's actually safer to keep your money in the banks. A question that may trouble representatives of the business: we imagine that credits will be very expensive. What's going to happen with credit portfolios? Look, we expect the following: there will not be a quick raising of the credit rates. We're even looking, as an association, we even talked about. We spoke to the stakeholders in the market that we're going to sign a memorandum of ethical behavior in the market, so as not to have one bank, one bank would raise the rates and take their clients from another bank, which would lead to distortions, to the fact that each bank's assets would flow from one bank to the next. Also, extremely important right now are state programs. We have the 579 program. In this context, there's been the agribusiness support program, and there was which enjoyed a lot of demand, and we credited up to 36 billion hryvnia. Over 80% of them are portfolio guarantees, so they were 0% interest rate. So this was very necessary. This was this really supported the sowing campaign. So the state support programs will continue. The rate of 25% doesn't mean that the credits tomorrow will be 30, especially as if the national bank puts in place stabilization triggers and they work, then by late July, or perhaps by early September, it will start bringing down these rates. As far as consumer crediting, mortgages, etc., why this is interesting to us? Because there were some ideas even that perhaps there would be an amnesty, whatever, consumer credit amnesty or mortgage amnesty for people who have lost their property due to the war. What might that discussion look like, and what is the state? What is the condition of consumer crediting? Okay, look. Truly, from the start of the war, the banks did freeze crediting, particularly suspend crediting, particularly for individuals and mortgages. And this wasn't just the fact that there was, wartime combat going on, but also the mortgage needs planning for years, whereas the war certainly narrowed the planning horizon down to days. You know, so the raising of the rates is a temporary event is a normal shock reaction response to shock, and it doesn't support long-term crediting, but banks are starting to bring back consumer crediting for individuals with various protracted payments or series of payments. And now there's a state program. I can't tell you details now, but where it's being developed, it's being looked into. It's going to be a mass program that will help with new residential quarters. Of course, we'll also be looking into the destroyed and damaged property. We have many applications in Dia, about 170,000 applications in Dia. The banks are looking into what level of monetary loss this is. There are some ideas about compensating their losses to these people through long-term war bonds, like 20-year war bonds that may either become compensation for the lost property, or if there were no credits, then become kind of a down payment on a mortgage, on a new mortgage. But we have to understand that right now businesses are relocating. They're moving into more protected regions, safer regions, and of course there are also new jobs. There's new need for a new demand for new construction. So we've had conversations with builders who are prepared, construction workers who are prepared to do this, construction companies who are prepared to do this, and we really hope that very soon we will see some results. And then our final question: you said that the planning horizon has narrowed down, or it's practically absent. Nevertheless, how do you see the future of the banking system? Short term, perhaps a month or 6 weeks, and more long term, let's say up to the new year. That's a great question. I hope that the war will end prior to the new year. I really hope, and actually much sooner, and that we will be able. The banking system, the banking system is like a blood circulation system of the economy, and the banking system can facilitate the rebirth of the economy. So the fact that it survived this, the banking system has a lot of liquidity. The banks are prepared to credit, but you need, it's much like with the rates. We need people that don't speculate on the rates. Who cross the borders with a lot of cards. They bring currency, and without doing anything, they would make money on these speculations. Both the banks and the clients and the state have to join their efforts. And the fact that our nation is united now is understood by the world. So the banking system in the nearest month and the nearest, let's say, to the end of the year, it should be stable. It will have liquidity. It will work. I hope that we will open new mortgage programs, and we'll start rebuilding our country together. Most importantly, I hope that the victory is as quick as possible. We believe that as well. Thank you. With us was Olena Korobkova, head of the board of the Independent Association of the Banks of Ukraine. Our next briefing is scheduled to start in a few minutes. With us will be Rostislav Chistik, coordinator of the Center for the Support of the 125th Brigade of the Territorial Defense of Ukraine, and Alexander Kharashun, also from the 125th Brigade, will be talking about the territorial defense. I will be talking about helping the army. See you then.